Well, welcome back to another episode of Adult Child of Dysfunction. Hope you're all doing well today. Today we have with us our special guest is Kellina Powell. She's a dynamic deaf coach and advocate, international speaker, best-selling author, and passionate entrepreneur dedicating to helping young adults with disabilities achieve their dreams. Her mission extends beyond personal coaching. She's committed to educating the wider community about the deaf experience and fostering a more inclusive society. I love that. Welcome, Kellina. How are you today?
I'm doing good. Thank you so much for having me today.
Yeah, so tell people, I know I read your bio a little bit and it said that you had hearing loss at 4 years old.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
So tell us a little bit about kind of just how you got to where you are and what you're doing, because it's absolutely amazing what you're doing.
Thank you. So I actually became deaf due to an ear infection. A lot of people are not aware. And it did change my life completely, especially communication style with my family and myself. And long story short, I realized that there were not a lot of role models that looked like me when I was growing up. And I always wanted to look for someone that looked like me. And when I came to a conclusion in university was when I wanted to write my first book. And that's when I said, you know what, let me just be the first role model for the younger generation to write a book and just really inspire them to let them know that they are not alone in this world. And so that really had led me to here. Just really, a lot of people have been reaching out to me about my work, and I have been connecting with a lot of great individuals who are currently helping me to succeed a lot more. So that's really how I got here. So
Great. So you said that you lost your hearing completely from an ear infection.
yeah,
Wow. Is that normal? I mean, does that happen a lot?
it does happen. It is kind of normal, but kind of one of the side effects, unfortunately.
Wow. So, and you don't remember, do you remember back that far? I know that's kind of young to remember.
I remember, I do pretty much remember, not everything, but I remember, so what happened was I went to daycare. My family, my mom told them their airdrop description and obviously what they need to do. So unfortunately, that same day, I actually became deaf, which is really crazy. So I got my mom picked me up from daycare, and then I was trying to watch TV, and my mom tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Colleen, I've been calling you," and I was like, huh? And I looked at my mom like dead in the face, like, what's she talking about? And so from there, my mom freaks out. I panic, of course, 4 year olds. I'm like, I get here.
Oh,
And my mom, luckily, she called my grandmother because my grandma was a nurse at the time. So my grandmother rushed from the hospital. She did some weird stuff to my ears. I'm like, Grandma, what are you doing to my ears? And so my grandma realized that something was up and she said, we need to call a family doctor. So our family doctor said, unfortunately, I'm fully booked today. You guys can come in tomorrow. So that day comes, I went to go to my family doctor. Again, he was doing all these weird things to my ears. And I'm like, what's going on? I got frustrated to the point where I like told my doctor, stop touching me. And that's when my doctor broke the news to my family that unfortunately there's nothing we can do. She's completely deaf.
wow. And so you couldn't hear anything at that point.
For 2 days straight. No.
Wow. So did you, I mean, now, okay, so I'm just going to ask you now. I know you do deaf and you work with deaf people and the disability and everything like that. Are you reading lips or did you get some of your hearing back with devices or how are you communicating?
So I actually went to two schools when I became deaf. I went to a deaf school in the morning, and then the afternoon I went to a hearing school. So my family did that to really help me to communicate, especially with sign language and vocal. However, now I do rely on lip reading. When I was growing up, I did rely on lip reading heavily and closed caption. However, my hearing aid did not help me get all my hearing back, unfortunately. So my hearing always gonna remain the same for the rest of my life.
Okay. And about what percent do you hear? Like, is there a
Um,
percentage?
And that so for those who don't know, so the audiogram, so there's a graph of audiogram. So my hearing loss is at the very bottom of the graph. So I'm severe hearing loss, so which is like 5% hearing I have.
Wow.
So it's pretty low. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's pretty low. I know I have 40% hearing loss in one ear, but the other
Right.
ear is totally fine. So I know, like, I know my family is always telling me, stop yelling. I'm like, like, I can't help it. I talk loud. And they're like, because you
Yes.
don't hear. I'm like, oh, okay. But that's wild. So it's so good that you learn to use something that could have been, it could have kept you down. It could have kept you
Yes.
sad and depressed and feeling sorry for yourself. At what age did you start to go, okay, I'm going to learn to help people with this?
I was literally only like 18, 19 years old. Because that's when I just about to leave high school. Yes. So I was 18, 19 years old. That's when I said, I really want to help people.
And so, but you didn't have any desire to, I mean, at this point, obviously you spoke sign language, so you could communicate. I know when I go to university, like presentations, I love when they have a sign interpreter. I think that's amazing. I always wanted to do it, and I was honestly, I was just really bad at it. So I never even got the basics. I'm like, I don't understand it. I was like, I have so much empathy for people that have to do this because I could not I just couldn't wrap my head around it. It was, I mean, I'm sure if I had to, I would have.
Of
And
course, exactly. Yeah. It
yeah,
takes a lot of practice and time because like I stopped doing sign language when I actually went to the hand school full time. Because the hand school didn't have someone that could interpret it for me, unfortunately. So I had to like stop learning my sign. So right now I just relearned my sign language again.
oh,
So I started doing my classes again last year in 2024 in January. So I've been keeping up a lot more now. So
right. Is it like riding a bike? Does it come back to you quickly? Like
yeah,
learning a foreign language. I mean, it's
it
really
is
learning a
a
foreign
language.
language.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So do you work with children mostly, or do you work with adults?
So I work with both as well.
Okay. And then so you coach them through all kinds of disabilities, I'm assuming.
Exactly.
So I would put you more as like an empowerment coach, like just going out there and being like, it doesn't matter what's going on or what happened or what disability you have, you can't let it stop you. And
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
do you do public speaking? I mean,
Yes.
obviously you're on a podcast, but
Yeah,
dumb
so I do
question.
speak. So yes, I do speak all over the world. I do a lot of speaking in terms of disability and empowerment. I do speak to a lot of youth about finding themselves, just because the stigma and the bullying, and as well, I do a lot of workshops all over the world. I do a lot of partnership with organizations as well. So that's what I currently do.
Oh, I love it. It gives me goosebumps. Talk to me about that stigma because I know it must have been hard, especially in the middle school, high school years. Did you go to a special school for all deaf children or no?
So it was yes and no because
Okay.
I actually went to the deaf school in the morning, so it's like a half day for me,
Okay.
unfortunately. But I just stopped going to it when I was in grade three, and
Oh,
then I went to the hand school full time,
wow. So you literally did you have interpreters or did you have to rely on sign on lip
speaking and
language?
lip reading. Yeah,
Wow. That's crazy. That's
yeah, it was hard.
impressive actually.
It's impressive, but advocating for myself for a young girl was very hard though. When I went to the
Yeah,
hand school full time.
I bet. Did you get bullied? I mean, just
Of
I'm
course,
sure.
I've been bullied like so many times in elementary school. Middle school, kind of, not too much. It wasn't that hectic at elementary school because I got kids are younger. They don't understand.
Right.
But middle school, it got a little bit better. I felt a little bit more confident to like stand up for myself.
Right.
So yeah,
Right. Yeah, because that's, I mean, with any kind of stigma, I mean, it's, whether you have any kind of disability, really. I mean, it's people get labeled and it's like I did a summit in December and it was all about shattering stigmas. And we didn't actually touch on, people that had hearing loss that couldn't hear. We didn't really have anybody, but we had other people come on with different stigmas. And we just kind of addressed the fact that if you don't understand something, you tend to steer away from it or you
exactly.
make it a joke like you trauma it's comic relief, you might make a joke because you're uncomfortable yourself. So were your teachers good with keeping that to at bay? Did they like talk to the class or anything like that?
To be honest, a lot of the teachers I had were not accommodating.
Mm,
A lot of people kind of surprised and shocked when I told them. They will put me in a lot of uncomfortable situation. The part where I had self-esteem was very low at the time. I did not feel comfortable. There are times where I had to come home and I tell my family what was going on at school, and
mm.
so my family would be confused. And you're thinking, as a teacher, they will respect your child, they will accommodate your child, but that was not always the case, unfortunately.
And I have no idea how old you are, so I'm not going to even try to guess. You look very young. How old? Okay, I'm just going to ask. How old are you?
27.
Okay, you don't look 27, but I
Thank you.
mean, you look
I
very
love
young
that.
and very pretty. So, but that, I mean, and that was just recently. That wasn't too long ago. Like I'm thinking, okay, back in the 70s and 80s and 90s, you expected that
Yeah,
because, but now it seems like there's so many different accommodations that children get. I mean, I know I was
exactly.
a teacher for a very short time, but in my class, I mean, there was like four different disabilities just in my class that I had to accommodate some way. But it would take a very generous teacher because things like talking to the board. I mean, I'm sure you struggled when they're facing the blackboard and writing and you can't hear what they're doing or how they're
No.
explaining. Did you get tutors and things like that?
So I did had tutors, I did had note takers, and I did had teachers will provide me like a basic note of what was discussed in the class, so that way I'm following along. And sometimes they would give me like homework to kind of follow up with the class every day. So that would be the only thing that I really got.
Oh, good. So you get extra work.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, that's
Right.
what I got. Literally got like extra work. That
Really, it's like, okay, kick me when I'm down, I can't. Wow. But I mean, I'm so proud of you. So what are some things that you did as a child? Because I know bullying is a big thing. And I know I deal with it with a lot of parents right now who their children are being bullied. And then you take bullying for just no reason and then bullying with a disability. What did you do as a child to kind of help yourself through that?
I honestly having the right support system. So my family were very huge advocate for me. They will come to the school the next day. They will not do like they will be there like every day. For me, as a child, I would say I just hang out with my close friend. I stick with them, and I tell them what's going on and what's happening. So I just found my comfortable space with my friends, and even finding that one comfortable teacher that I am comfortable with to talk to about what's really going on. I think that's pretty much all I could do when I was young. Just finding that safe space for me.
Yeah. And they say that's important. They say anytime a child is going through any kind of trauma, neglect, abuse, bullying, whatever it is, you need that one person. You need, your go-to. You need that to be able to thrive to come out of it because you need that assurance, you need that love, you need that validation. Um, I'm assuming it was very difficult, and kudos to you for at such a young age realizing that you wanted to use that to speak and to talk to people. How did you get into that? I mean, did someone say, "Hey, you ought to go tell your story," or
So, actually, a friend of mine who is actually happened to be my mentor, she's actually in business, and I didn't really think it was gonna be the way it was now. She dropped an idea. She's like, Kellina, like you have the personality, you're a very bubbly person. Why don't you write a book? And I was like, me write a book? That's something I don't think I'd be coming out there. Like if you were to tell me I'm young, I'd be out there, I'd be like, I can't write. That's the one thing I would tell you. And because I had a deaf person, we struggled a lot with English, especially sentences, punctuation. So that's something I did struggle with a lot when I was in high school. So I asked her, why do you want me to write a book? And she said, think about it. Have you read a book by a deaf author yourself? And I was like, wait, no, I have not. So she's like, exactly. Why don't you be the first step author that a lot of young people read by because you are very active with the handle. You can do
mm,
that. So I said, you know what? I'll actually write my first book. And so I did it. I was only 22 at the time when I for my first book. And I published it, I like with a lot of great authors as well who give me a lot of feedback and tips. And so that really got me where I am. And as well, she was also suggesting me to join podcasts. I was really nervous because I didn't think podcast was going to be something that I'd be really good at. And so, yeah, so that's it was because of that one person, which was my
Right.
mentor today.
That is amazing. Amazing. And now you speak all over the world.
Yeah, I'm not
I mean, that
expecting that.
that is so great. Wow. Your family must be very proud.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
over the moon.
Do you have siblings?
Yes, I do have a little sister.
Okay. Do you mind if I ask how was that for them? I know sometimes it's like your disability was not obviously like the same as like having someone struggling with drugs or alcohol, but it was something that took a lot of attention from your parents, obviously.
Yeah. So for my younger sister, in the beginning, my family, we were all very educated with her about my hearing loss. So we do teach her about like just sometimes I can't hear her well. So she was very quick at picking things up. And then we thought, because for a young kid, you don't even think they would understand so quick. But my sister's very smart. She's very good at picking things up. And when she got older, I think that's when she realized that, oh, my sister's actually deaf. Like she does
Right.
need help. So there's times where we go to the store and I would ask my sister, like, hey, what did they say? So at times she was annoyed in the beginning when she was younger because she's like, I have to repeat so many words. But then
Right.
over time, when she got older, she's not too far off from me now. But then she got used to it. Then she got comfortable, and she she was amazed by me, I would say. Like she didn't awe me because she's like, wow, my sister can do so much, knowing that there's people out there that complaining
Yeah.
who cannot do it. And so she adored me a lot. And she's like, wow, like so I would say yeah, at the beginning it was difficult for her to accept that she had a disability sister. But again, she never really looked at me like that because,
Right.
she's like, you're just like a normal person, but you just
Right.
need to talk louder. That's it. Yeah.
We just need to come around and talk to you instead of talking to you and with our back to you. Yeah, no, absolutely. And it's
Yeah.
funny and it's it's horrible to think that people are not do not have empathy to that someone could, and a good example, and I'll use my in-laws for instance. My father-in-law is pretty much without his hearing aids. He doesn't hear anything at all.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
so she's constantly like yelling at him. And I'm like, he can't hear you. Or we'll go in a restaurant and he turns them off because the surround
Too
sound is
loud. Yeah.
overwhelming. And he said, I hear everything 10 times and it's overwhelming to him. And she gets so mad. And I'm like, he can't help it. So,
Yeah.
but again, I don't live with them, but to me it's just another example of something that people are going through, and the more empathy and the more compassion they can get from other people, the easier it is for them. If
Right.
you're not being judged or don't feel like you're being judged, you're more apt to be yourself and let people accommodate to you. I do it. If somebody comes in and they're in a wheelchair, I move out of the way. It's just common courtesy. I mean, some people have, unfortunately, something will happen to them, but I love that you don't, like you said or your sister said, you're not letting it get you down. You're not using it as an excuse to not do anything, because it's so easy when you have something wrong. Even like, I mean, a lot of people that listen to this podcast have had a very traumatic childhood, and it's so easy to just say, well, my life is like this because of what happened to me, and
Exactly.
there's nothing I can do about it, and it's just the way it is. I mean,
Exactly.
talk about that a little bit about what your thinking is behind them.
I would say like it's so hard because I feel like people use had the past and excuse for everything they are making bad habits of. And for me, because yes, we all went through things, yes, we have to take a moment to heal from our past. But at the same time, I always tell people, you have to understand God gives you this strength for a reason. He gave it to you because he knows you are capable of doing it. And I'm pretty sure if he knew that you were not capable of doing it, he wouldn't give it to you.
Right.
Right? For me, I didn't even realize that until my grandmother told me this before she passed away. And she literally said, like, You adapt because God gave you this gift because you were meant to have it.
Mm, very wise woman.
Yes, very.
Yes.
Yeah,
And I think that's what, well, when you look at the coaches and the authors and the speakers, and you look at, I mean, Jack Canfield, who's wrote hundreds of millions of books and like sold millions and millions and millions of books. I mean, he had a bad childhood. He could have
exactly.
he could have easily stayed poor and sad and beaten down, and he didn't. So it just takes, and I agree with you. I agree with two things. One, God doesn't give you more than you can handle. And he also gives things to people that he knows are going to use them for good.
Exactly.
It's the same thing when you make a mistake. I tell people, if you make a mistake, learn from it. Don't run from it.
Exactly.
Make amends, do what you got to do, but learn from it. Learn from everything that God gave you, because there's a plan. I don't know what it is. You don't know what it is, but there's a plan for sure.
Yeah.
Well, this is amazing. You're inspiring, because
Thank
I've
you.
had a couple other people. I had one gentleman who was shot 3 times in a drive-by shooting while he was trying to go to the ATM. And he now coaches people that are in like traumatic accidents.
But
Yeah. And it's a lot of them are in that victim mindset. And you cannot stay in that victim mindset.
no, you cannot because you cannot. Because I tell people like you'll be surprised how much people is looking for you. I all tell
Right.
people that, and people always say like, "How did you get yourself out of the victimized mindset?" And I said, you have to really take time to listen to yourself and really learn how to break the ice. It takes time to break the ice, but the problem is when I notice, especially when I'm coaching people, is they want to rush it. Why
Mm,
are you rushing to break the ice so quickly? And that's
mm,
what a lot of people don't understand is that if you rush through things, you're never going to see the light at the end of the tunnel.
mm. Explain why to me, to the people that are listening. I know what I'm thinking, but explain to me why you think it's important that they rush it, that they don't rush and they take their time.
Yeah, for sure. Like for example, Amazon, the CEO, he been running his Amazon for how many years in his basement? Did he rush it? No. Is he successful? Yes. Why? Because he took his time. He be patient with everything he's doing. So, for example, like especially when it comes to mental health crisis, when you rush through things to mental health crisis, you won't fully see the light. You'll probably see 5% of the light, but what about the other percentage of the light, right? And you're rushing it because why? Because you want it to get to where you need to go. And also, too, I tell people if you rush it all the time, you're not going to get the result that you want.
No.
And if you
And it,
rush it, God's going to give you something that you don't deserve.
yeah,
And a lot of people don't realize that at all.
yep, right. And it is like you said, it's on his timing, not your timing. It's all his timing. So, but yeah, no, and it's especially when you bring up the fact of the mental health issues, when you rush that, it's a process. People come to me that are 40, 50, 60 years old that have literally had these underlying beliefs for decades. And you're not just going to write on the mirror, I am beautiful and I am good. And all of a sudden you feel beautiful and good. I mean, it is a process. And like you said, it's layers and it's underlying things. And you have to really take the time to look inside. And I believe that everything is inside of us that we need.
Exactly. It's layers, and people don't realize that there's so much layers to get to the end of the tunnel. There could be 10 layers that you have to fight through and get through, and people don't know that. So,
Yep. Yep. And you come across them as you might, a good example, I can just give you a quick story here. I just recently had a stroke. And when I was thinking about I was thinking about like the healing I've done and everything else. And it literally brought up when my father had a heart attack when I was younger. I never even like addressed that or felt any kind of fear or anything about that. I don't know if I was just in this completely numb stage, but me having a stroke and watching my older son in the hospital room with me brought all of that together about like, so I had to spend some time and process that about like what I was feeling as a little child, 10 years old, thinking I was going to lose my dad. And I never And again, here I am, 56, never thought about that because I had so much other stuff that I was, layering and peeling apart and dealing with. And then this was just one more thing. And I was like, okay, well, that was cool. I mean, something I never thought about. But yeah, it's layers. And I tell people he unpeels them as you're ready to handle them.
Yes, because it's going, like you said, you're 56, it take you this long. And some people, and I tell people, like accidents will take you all the way from your path, especially as a little girl. And you just
Mhm.
never know when that time comes.
Yep. No, absolutely. It's a very interesting experience. I can have podcast after podcast after podcast on just that. But tell people, because you are so kind. I mean, is there a place we can go to hear some of your speeches or hear you speak, or how do people work with you if they want to work with you?
Yeah, everybody, honestly, if you want to see me speaking, you can type me up on Kellina Powell on Google. All my speaking is all there, especially podcasts. Some people want to hear what I have to talk about. It's all uploaded on YouTube. You can check that out. And if you want to work with me, you can check my website, which is KellinaEmpowerment.com. And yeah, don't be afraid to reach out to me if you have any questions.
Oh, I love it. It's so inspiring. I'm just thinking of a million different questions I could ask you. I could talk to you all day, literally, because I mean, like you said, life is a choice, whether you're
Yes,
going to be a victor or a victim. And the bottom line is we all get stuff thrown at us, and
all the
it's
time.
all the time. And this could happen to someone, someone could lose their hearing when they're 50 or 40 or 30 or in an accident. Like you said, anything can happen at any time. You just have to like have the inner strength and the belief that you can get through it, that if your legs are broken, that you can walk again, if your brain is messed up, that you can think again, that you can read again, and just know that there's a lot of power in healing, and God has a lot of power. He can heal a lot.
A lot than we think of. So,
Yes, way more than we'd ever think of. So I love you're just so inspirational to me. But leave the guests before you go. First of all, thank you so much for coming on.
no.
And second, leave the guests with some practical strategies or just a little tip or words of wisdom or something that they can carry with them throughout the day to make themselves feel a little more resilient.
Okay. I'm gonna drop the mic. So I always tell people, you don't have to close your eyes, but think for a minute. So think for a minute every day. Let's say if God comes to your dream and he tells you you have until 3 days to live. You wake up in the morning, you're shocked, and he tells you that. What will you do? Would you live life to the fullest? That's one. Two, will you make excuses? Or three, travel around the world. So if you can picture yourself, where do you want to see yourself the next 3 days because God told you you're going to heaven? What would you do? Think about it for a second. Ask yourself, what do I want my life to look like before I leave the earth? I know y'all are thinking like, wow, think about it. For me, I know I want to leave a legacy for my family and my children, for my future children. Don't worry, guys, I don't have kids yet. But think about it. What would you do if God told you you have a timeline? Think about it. And that's my wisdom for the show.
That is a perfect thing for people to self-reflect, because it really shows you where you are, and it really answers whether or not you're where you want to be. Because we can
Exactly.
all get to where we want to be. We can all have the things we want to have. We're the only ones holding ourselves back. So thank wow, you gave us all something to think about. I hope you weren't driving and closing your eyes, but thank you for that. I appreciate that. Thank you for coming on, Kellina.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. For everybody else out there, wow, such inspiration, such it's just inspiration. I mean, I don't even know what to say. It started when she was so very young, and she's had to fight her whole life. And then what's the first thing she did as an adult was, I'm going to take this and I'm going to help millions of people. And that is what she's doing. And that's what your story can do too, guys. That's what your challenges can do. That's what your resilience can do. It can lead you to help more people than you ever thought of. because we all have a purpose. We're all given a purpose, and we just need to step into our purpose. So thank you, everybody, and we will talk to you next week.